Hi, welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly, and this channel is all about creating print-on-demand designs using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in, please hit like and subscribe and stick around. So in today's video, I want to show you how you guys can create this design right here. Now, this is a very funny, very popular niche that I've seen done a billion different ways. So really what I want to show you is the technique of this specific design style. So if you would like to learn how you can go about doing this design, go ahead and stick around. So here I am on Canva's homepage, and we will be creating another t-shirt design today. So we're going to go ahead and start with a blank background. So I'm going to go over to the right-hand side of this toolbar, and it's going to say custom size. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I will be selecting 4500 by 5400 pixels today. That is the size that I use for all of my, pretty much all of my clothing apparel designs. It is the most versatile, and it is what is recommended by Amazon Merch. I also prefer to optimize my t-shirt designs for darker colors, as they do tend to sell better. So I just go ahead and select black as my background color to start with, and we're going to go from there. Now today we're going to be doing a very funny and very common niche that does very well every year, and there's 1,000 different ways to do it. I'm going to show you a particular style that you can use, and of course you can use this for other things as well, but this one is going to be the one that says Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Whiskey, Tequila, Vodka, Blitzen. So very funny. And like I said, there's a billion ways to do this one. I've seen a lot of different ways, but I did want to try to incorporate different styles into this niche so that you guys can hopefully, again, learn some new techniques. And so for this one, we are going to do a combination of sort of that just all cap block letter and then like a scripty letter with some font glyphs. And we're going to go back and forth, and then we're going to, kind of give it that sort of muddled color look where we use color palettes that are very similar here. So you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and just pull up the text boxes. So we're going to do all of these words again, one at a time. So the first one is going to be Dasher, right? And then pull up another text box, Dancer, another text box, Prancer. You can see the way this is going. Vixen, another text box, Whiskey, and then Tequila. Ooh, Tequila. Oops. Oops, if I spell it right. Tequila. Oops. Vodka. One more text box, and Blitzen. Okay, so here are all of our words, and this design is all about fonts and colors, so we don't need any graphics for this. It's just going to be a bunch of fonts and colors. So I'm going to be doing an every other one pattern you may have seen, where it goes like block text, and then cursive, and then block, and then cursive, and block, and cursive, and block, and cursive, and something, and so forth. So first we're going to have to pick the font that we want for just our all caps basic font. And so I'm looking for something that is bold, that is simple, pretty straightforward. The original font that you'll see here, that's just the given font, that is Canva Sans. If you were to make that bold and capitals, that by itself is a good choice. So you could just literally stick with the one that you get, and there's no problem with that. I think I decided to go with another one, and I just went with Bernauer. I can never say these words. This one right here. So there's several of these ones. There's the original. There's condensed. There's semi-condensed. There's wide versions of it. So most of these fonts come in different versions. But Bernauer, semi-condensed, whatever. This is the one that I went with, and so this is a good choice right here. So I made it nice and big right across the front, and that is your number one right there. Now these are going to have to take up a lot of space, so make sure that we give lots of space to all of these here. And remember, this is in every other one, so now Prancer is going to be the same one. So that Prancer is now going to be that same thing, and it needs to be in all caps. And then Whiskey again, same font, all caps. And then Vodka, same font, all caps. And so we've got this every other one going on here. And so something like that. And keep in mind, we're going to have our little script fonts in between here. Move that all the way down. So something like that. You can kind of see the way that that is working there. So don't worry about putting it, perfect in terms of the layout, because we're going to play with that a little bit, but you can kind of see Prancer is pretty long. That's going to go all the way across the top. Now, you could choose to make these all the same size, in which case, obviously, some of these would be a lot smaller. So, for example, Prancer is 706. If I was to take the Vodka and make it 706, you can see it would shrink down quite a bit. And that's fine if you want to go ahead and do that. Let's do this one. It would also be 706. And 706. So here is how they would look if they were all the same size, and that's fine. You could also choose to be like, well, I'm going to make the shorter ones a little bit bigger so that they're the same length. That's another way you could do it. You could also decide that you're going to make some of the shorter ones and you're just going to space those letters out just a little bit. And so that's another way to make it just a little bit more even, would be to be like, I'll take Vodka and I'll space it out just a smidge so that it doesn't look quite so compact next to the other ones. I could do the same thing here with Dasher and do the letter spacing just a little bit so that it doesn't look quite so, different in size. And so that might be one way to go too. Or again, I could go ahead and make Dasher just a smidge bigger, make Vodka just a smidge bigger. And so again, now they're not the exact same length, but they get a little bit closer, so there's not quite that disparity between the longer words and the shorter words. So it really just depends on the way you want it to look and what aesthetic you think is going to look best. But here we have our basic bold words, and so now we're going to be looking for what we want here in terms of our script words. Now, I did a video last week showing how I did some of the font glyphs with the script words to get those sort of leading and trailing lines, and I want to do that again here because I do think that those leading and trailing lines are going to look really good in this design. So when I do that, I want to pick a font that I can also use on Creative Fabrica's font cloud to get those font glyphs. If you don't have Creative Fabrica or you haven't used it, now is a great time to check it out. There are tons of free features, by the way. There's lots of free graphics and lots of free fonts that you can use. If you don't have a subscription, you can also, buy fonts and buy graphics a la carte. But if it's something that you're going to use more than once, it's really worth it to just have a subscription because it's pretty cheap and I use it all the time. You can pick all the free fonts and free graphics you want, but if you want to get the font glyphs, you would have to use the font cloud, and that is something that you either have to pay for or you have to have the subscription for. So just be aware of that. You could, of course, also just pick a script font, not do the font glyphs, and do the design that way too. So again, I could go to any of my sort of scripty fonts and just do something like that and not have the lines, or find another way to sort of make that look cool. And so you don't have to do the font glyphs, but I do think that those look good. And for this particular design, I decided to use the same, I think it's the same one I showed you in a video last week, and it was a heart style font. So I liked that one there, and I know it does have the leading and trailing lines that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and just select this font for everything. And so I'm going to make all of these that style right there. And then last one here, same thing. Whoop. Something like that. Okay, we might have to shrink this whole thing down a little bit, but you get the idea. So I'm going to jump over to Creative Fabrica to show you guys. And if you haven't been here, there's a link in, there should be a link below this video. So in the description below this video, there should be a link to Creative Fabrica. And it is pretty cheap. I don't know what the purchase price now is, but I do know there's a special deal for only $4 a month for an extra year. I've clicked on that a few times, and I think I've purchased several years out by now. So mine will go many years before I will have to renew it. But anyways, you can see here, if I was to do, right now it's listed for fonts, and it's got recommended fonts for me. And you can see the fonts that sort of have that swirl in front and behind. And so all of these little swirly lines here, these are font glyphs. And you won't necessarily be able to get these glyphs by just uploading the font onto Canva. It'll give you the basic letters, but without the glyphs. If you want the glyphs, you will have to use the font cloud. But there are tons of awesome fonts on here. And if you ever want to use those font glyphs, then it is definitely worth it to get the membership to use the font cloud so that you can use those glyphs. This is the one we're going to use today, I think, is the heart style one. And it's got, again, those little swirly front lines and back lines that you can use. But there are tons of fonts on here too. And there are also freebies. So if you go here, you can see all freebies, free fonts, free SVGs, free graphics. So all sorts of free stuff. And if you go to free fonts, you will see that there are over 5,000 free fonts that you can use. And a lot of them also have those leading and trailing lines. A lot of them have really cool font glyphs that you can use. But again, you can only use the font glyphs if you have the font cloud. But this is definitely a way to start. So if you're not on here and you want to download some fonts for free, this is a great way to start. If you have the membership and you haven't tried using Font Cloud yet, real easy, you're going to go to your tools. So here, tools. There's two tools that I like to use a lot, and that is Font Cloud and Shape Cloud. I've gotten videos showing both of them, but today we're going to be using that Font Cloud. And when you go to Font Cloud, it'll kind of look like this, and you'll click Open Font Cloud. When you open Font Cloud, you probably won't have anything if you haven't used it before, so this will all just be kind of empty. But what you would do is click here where it says Browse, and you will start downloading or uploading your fonts. So let's say I downloaded that heart font off of Creative Fabrica. It's in my downloads. I will now upload it to Font Cloud, and I will upload it to Canva so that I can use it on both. When I'm on Canva, for example, and I go to my fonts, you will see, let me get back this, under my recently used, here we go, my uploaded fonts. Uploaded fonts are sometimes under your brand kit too. And there's a thing here that says upload font. I can click that and I can upload my fonts. So all of these fonts are fonts that I downloaded off of Creative Fabrica and then uploaded onto Canva. And you can see I've probably got well over 100 different fonts. And any of them that had font glyphs that I like, that I want to use, I can go ahead then and also upload onto Font Cloud. And so you'll have your list here of the ones that you use. So I've only got a small handful of the ones that I use because it really just depends what kind of glyph I'm looking for. But right now I am on heart style. So if you click that, it'll pull up your heart style and it'll show you all of the different characters that come with it, including if you scroll down, you'll start to see all of the glyphs. So the hearts, the little leading lines, the little trailing lines with hearts, you know. And so these are all cool. And what we're going to do is essentially start replacing letters with leading and trailing lines. So if I was going to go back to my Canva, so I'm just going to have to jump back and forth here. First word I have is dancer, and I want the D. So I want the D that has the leading line. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to find the D with the leading line. That's this one. I just click it. I know it looks like nothing happened, but it did save that. So all I have to do is click it. Go back to Canva. I'm going to highlight the D, right click, and then hit paste. And there I have my leading line. And I'm going to do the same thing now with the R, but I want the trailing line. So I'm going to go right back over here. I'm going to find my R with the trailing line. Here it is. Click that. And now come back, highlight the R, right click, and paste. And now I have my dancer, and I'm just going to do that for all of these. So next I'm going to go Vixen. And so I want the leading line with the V. So back here, I've got my leading lines. Here's my V. I click that. Highlights, paste. There's my V. Then I want an N. So now I want my trailing N. Click. And so this gets pretty fast when you know what you're doing. It doesn't take long to do. Paste. There's my Vixen. Now I'm going to tequila. So now I want my leading T. So I want to find my leading T. Click that. Find my tequila. Highlight the T. Paste. I want the trailing A now. Yeah, there it is. And there's my trailing A. And then one more time for Blitzen. I want the leading B. There it is. And paste. And then the trailing N. And paste. Boom. So there we go. And that was all I needed the font cloud for, but it gives it that really cool look. And so sorry, I went off on a tangent for a while there, but if you haven't used it, definitely worth using. Now, again, when it comes to the size of this, we can do the same thing that we did before, make them the same size, or we can make sizes different depending on the length of the word. So right now, tequila looks pretty small. It's at 329. And dancer is at 457. So we can definitely see how we're getting differences here. I can make tequila 425. It's going to overlap. I can do Blitzen at 425. That's also going to overlap. There we go. 425. And make that one 425. So now those are all the same size. And so what I'm thinking is going ahead and letting it overlap, but having there be a difference in color so that it's okay. You can see that it's overlapping. So with that in mind, I'm thinking, let's go ahead and maybe bring these a little closer together. So at this point, I want to make sure that these are centered and that they are pretty equally spaced. Okay, so again, centered and pretty equally spaced right there. One more time. Okay, now I'm going to bring these up. Oops. Undo. If you make a mistake, just go ahead and hit that back button. It's okay. I'm going to grab this one here, and so now I want to make sure that this is both centered in between the two and centered in the page. Again, make sure that this is centered in the page and centered in between the two words. More time, tequila, centered in between the two words and centered in the page. Let's see if I can find this. Boom. And then one more time. Spaced right and centered in the page. Something like that looks good. Okay. So now we've got that. That all looks really cool. Now we're going to do some color stuff. And so it takes a little bit of time to get the original colors that you want. But again, totally worth it. So let's say I want to do different shades. So let's say for this one, I'm going to do different shades of red, then maybe different shades of blue, then maybe different shades of green, and then what the heck, red again. And then we'll keep the words white so that they sort of overlap. So let's go ahead and we'll just start with Dasher. Let's just start by making that red. And now we're going to be doing different shades of red. So I'm going to highlight one letter at a time. And in order to do this, I'm going to just start changing the shades. And so some can be a little bit darker, some might be a little bit lighter. But you want to try looking for just slight variations, things that might look good. I kind of like that pink there is okay. Next, maybe this one gets a little bit brighter red, slightly darker pink. Looks kind of cool. Something like that. I mean, so here you can see I've got obviously different shades of red. And so now we're going to do the same thing here. So let's say I decided I was going to go with blue. And so let's just pick a blue and start playing with the blue. Now, on top of making some lighter and making some darker, I could also play with, you know, maybe making one a little bit more teal, maybe making one a little bit more into that purpley range. And so I could certainly play with it that way too, by making them different shades that way. Right, so something like that. Again, make one pretty dark, pretty light that way. So I'm just getting some different shades. And I could always repeat shades too if I wanted to. Maybe go a little bit more into the teals. Something like that. And so you can see the way we did it. And then we're going to do the same thing again with the greens. Pick a green. Maybe pick a middle green, so something that's not too yellowy, something that's not too blue. And again, I'm just going to start playing from here. Maybe I make one a little bit lighter. Maybe I make one a little bit more into the teal shade. Maybe I make this one. I also like that teal, but maybe a little bit of a brighter teal, something like that. I can take this one, maybe bring that maybe into the more yellows, but maybe make it a darker yellow, or maybe make it a lighter yellow. So I can just sort of play with sort of how you want that to go. And then if you find one that you're not fond of, again, nothing stopping you from continuing to play with it. So I feel like that's just maybe there. Okay. And then for vodka, I'm going to use the same shades that I had up here too. So let's just pick one of the reds and go from there. And you can pick whichever red you want to start with. And then I can go maybe a lighter color here, and then maybe one of the really dark reds, and then maybe the medium color. So actually that's going to look pretty good there. And so you just see the way that we did this. So we're looking for just sort of random variations in shades. So you'll say, okay, Dasher is red, but it's different variations of red, whether or not it's, you know, different in terms of light versus dark, or different in terms of saturated versus unsaturated, or different in terms of being a little bit more, you know, on the orangey end, or a little bit more on the sort of, you know, either end of the spectrum. So you can sort of play with that. I like the way that this looks overall. What might help to make these stand out more now would be to do some sort of outline in black. Now this would only work good on a black shirt if I do the outline, but it's going to make this pop where it overlaps. And so what I would do here would be go to Effects, Outline. Let's try black. It's hard to see where the thickness is. Right now it's just sitting at 50. On a dark shirt, you wouldn't necessarily know. Make sure that that goes in front. And so you can see just where it's kind of overlapping in those areas. It looks pretty cool. Although I can do the same thing. This one isn't overlapping anything, but just in case I put it on another color shirt, you would always want to just do it with everything. Again, I can take this, we can effects. I can go ahead, do the outline, do the black. Same thing there. And then one more time, effects. And I can do the outline. And I can do black. And so that looks pretty cool too. Now, if you were really concerned, we could try to do a save and then a background remover to remove all of the black and see if it removed the area around the text to give it that little cutout look. We may have to then make it a little bit thicker. It's something that you could try. I don't really want to get into it right now because we've spent a lot of time already, but those are other things that you could try if you didn't want to have the black line there, for example. So let's say I decided I wanted to put this on a shirt that was maybe like either a navy blue shirt. So let's say I decided I want to put it on a navy blue shirt. But now I can see this black line here, and maybe I don't like that black line. Well, if I had done the background remover technique and tried to remove all of the black, then maybe it would give that cutout look there. So I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but that's something that we could try. I don't want to spend the time to do it right now, but I do think that this is going to look good. I would go ahead and keep it on the dark color shirts. And so again, if it's on black, a dark navy blue, a really nice dark heather, it's still going to work and it's going to look pretty nice. And so that is the design style anyways that I wanted to show you guys. And again, this basic niche I have seen done a zillion different ways. So you can take this niche right here and you can make a ton of designs just for that niche. And you can also take this style and use the style on a ton of different niches. So hopefully this, helped give you guys some creative ideas. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you're able to incorporate this style in other designs that you do moving forward. If you have any questions about this, go ahead, drop it in the comment section below. I try to get back to everybody as quickly as I can. I do read all the comments. Thank you so much for your kind words. If you have a video request, you can throw those down there too, and I'll see if I can add you to my lists. I've already had requests for things for next year, like Valentine's Day, and I will get around to doing all of those. Valentine's Day I probably wouldn't start until maybe more of the beginning of December, so right now I'm still able to get up some more Christmas stuff. But we'll get to all of that anyways. So anyways, I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you're getting a lot of sales. I hope you have an awesome fourth quarter. And I do hope to see you guys again next week. That's all for today's video. If you found that useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.